WWE has released multiple major names. We've got an update on Vince McMahon's WWE power, and CM Punk has made his first comment since his AEW firing. Stay tuned for the news. It's been quite a big week for the world of professional wrestling. We saw WWE merge with UFC to form the TKO group.
The biggest thing to come from that was like the 20-foot title belt. I want that.
Right.
That should be the championship. Somebody should have to drag that down the ramp every time. Just
we had a belt that was almost as big. We had a title belt that was almost as big. But it was a major week. Big is exactly that title belt. But yeah, they sort of merged. They merged with the UFC. It's a weird start or a new era for the WWE. And unfortunately, when things like a merger happen, it means a lot of redundancies, people getting cut. There is...
Especially with them being two very similar companies in how they operate behind the scenes,
exactly.
Right?
So WWE began laying staff off yesterday. Per an internal memo, where the staff were told to work from home to allow these layoffs to begin. With recent reports claimed that upwards of 100 positions would be eliminated by the merger. And PW Insider has given some insight in some of the names released. Obviously, we can't list everyone, unfortunately, that was released. With over 100 names, that's reported that there would be 100 names released. There's quite a lot, but some of the names that were quite notable: Jamie Horowitz, who served as the EVP of Development and Digital in WWE; Catherine Newman, WWE's EVP and Head of Marketing; Amanda Bloom, WWE's Director of Enterprise, Master Data and Governance; Dana Warrior, which is a name that many of us will know as Ultimate Warrior. His wife, who has worked with WWE for the past 10 years or so, since the Warrior Award really got put into the spot, I think 2014. She'd previously worked in WWE Creative, was then now working in WWE's Community Outreach Department. She was released yesterday. Alexa Gothart, a WWE Digital Campaigns Manager, who revealed on LinkedIn that she had been cut from her role, and Kimberly Kierkegaard, a Brand Director and Affiliate Marketing Manager as well. So those are just some notable names that have either been reported by PW Insider or have come out themselves and gone, look,
I mean,
my time with WWE is up.
It was PW Insider kind of reporting as well. It seems that the marketing division has been hit pretty hard, along with the WWE Network and podcast divisions. But again, it's very horrible to see this happening. But I think when you're merging two companies that do essentially live fight production, right? You have a lot of similar positions across both companies. I think both sides will be getting this sort of thing happening, leading to eventually it all just kind of becoming one big thing behind the scenes.
Yeah, that seems to be the way it's going to go. And as we know how the market makeup of TKO is, UFC was the majority company with the 51%, Vince McMahon losing the majority power. You would expect a lot of the staff being kept would be that UFC talent or the UFC employees. It really sucks when whenever you hear about the layoffs and stuff like that, because it's people's livelihood, it's people's jobs, and WWE is a massive company making massive profits, but if you've got folk in similar roles, it doesn't make sense for them to keep.
Well, following the cuts, Nick Khan also sent an email to all remaining staff asking them to attend an in-person meeting on Tuesday in their new headquarters. So.
Yeah, there was no word on what that meeting is about, just that he welcomed, he put another email around being like, that's the layoffs done, that's the cuts done. If you're still with us, please join us on Tuesday in Stamford. It'll be interesting to see what the outcome of that meeting is, because we know that obviously this is a very strange week for WWE. It's a new era, as we said.
The land is changing rapidly, and it could be an entirely different company within a week's time.
Absolutely. We'll stick with TKO, the new company that has merged out of this marriage between WWE and UFC. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, TKO Group Holdings has a debt of $3.2 billion.
It's like $1 billion a day they've been a company.
Exactly. They're not doing well because this is because of money borrowed to purchase the UFC in 2016. $2.7 billion worth of this debt has to be repaid in 2026. This is the UFC's debt, not WWE's debt.
Luckily for UFC, WWE now, who they're tied to, makes money hand over fist. So I'm assuming this won't be too much of an issue. It was something we'd reported on heading into the potential sale, was the fact that that both sides may have certain things carry over. One of which was the kind of debt involved with the purchase of UFC. But again, I think with this merger, with everything kind of going the way it's going, it's only going to be a matter of like maybe 2 quarters and it's going to be done.
Yeah, and as I said, they've got a decent amount of time to pay it back, 2026. The report from the Wrestling Observer notes that this could be refinanced if they do want to keep the debt, but Meltzer just adding in the note that he was like, that is not a smart option because... Well, the interest. Have we seen the interest prices? It's a cost of living crisis, people.
They did it on a payday loan. It's even worse.
Exactly. You don't be doing that one, TKO. But it's just interesting to see the behind the scenes stuff of the business with layoffs, how much debt the company's in, and over the next 2-3 weeks, I imagine we'll get a better understanding of how this company will look, and then over the next few months, it'll be settled. TKO's still not got that brand recognition yet that UFC and WWE has.
No, but they've got a juicy logo, and they've just got to get it everywhere.
They do, exactly. Well, we're going to stay in the world of wrestling and not UFC just now. Future AEW plans have been revealed. While, All In, All Out are out the way, and the booking of them was, in hindsight, fantastic.
Yeah.
Very short-sighted because we were all going a week ahead going, what's going on? We've got a wee bit more of a head up for the next pay-per-view occurring on October 1st. It's Wrestle Dream, the inaugural Wrestle Dream, with 2 matches confirmed for the show so far. And per a report from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, AEW are considering adding several title matches to the show, as you would expect. Per Meltzer, both the AEW World Tag Team Championship and the AEW Trios titles will be on the line, with current plans leaning towards FTR versus Le Sex Gods in a tag title match, and the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn versus the Dark Order in a Trios Championship bout, which is very, I think, a very fresh matchup for the Trios.
Yeah.
Which we've seen the House of Black Ops obviously dominating, having incredible matches, but the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn versus the Dark Order, it's a bit more fun.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, give that division a little bit more leg room because it feels like it kind of just gets thrown around a little bit.
It's kind of forgotten that they have a lot of trios.
Yeah.
And they've not actually done much with them outside of just having that reign.
Meltzer's also suggested that Konosuke Takeshita versus Kota Ibushi could take place at Wrestle Dream after Takeshita and Don Callis marked Ibushi as a target on September 30th. Dynamite.
An absolute dream.
That's just going to be a banger. It's just going to be a banger. And then Wrestle Nightmare will probably take place 4 days later this time with a completely different card.
Completely.
Just like all in, all out, right? Just do 2 pay-per-views a week, Tony. That's how it should work.
That's what we want. Do the old classic
every week.
The classic TNA weekly pay-per-views. Bring us that. Get us Puppet back in there. But we've got an update now on Vince McMahon's WWE power. A new report from Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer has shed more light on McMahon's power. Obviously, as we said, it's a whole new world. We're on that magic carpet ride. With it suggested, Endeavor's head Ari Emanuel has essentially put Vince in charge of all facets of WWE, with Emanuel himself allegedly saying that if there's a disagreement on WWE's side of things in TKO, he would just defer to Vince because Vince knows wrestling. So Vince has a lot of power in this new company. Yeah,
for when you look at kind of percentage ownership in the overall company, we were all kind of a bit shocked, right? It's like 12% stake in TKO, but it makes sense. They're buying WWE because they wanted to buy it. Right, so they must have liked it. So they must trust Vince.
Yeah, and he has been in the business for
there's always got to be a McMahon in the castle, right?
That's it, and it's weird that a McMahon doesn't own the castle anymore.
Yeah, but he's still got to be in the chair.
He's still got to be in charge,
for better or worse.
Right. Well, despite returning to WWE Creative, Triple H does still remain in that role of head of creative, but Vince does still wield, an immense amount of power, being that head of the company, in that position. We've seen him already sort of appear with some creative stuff.
Yeah, we've heard that there's kind of been things changed last minute a couple of times.
Yes. Although, we mentioned it in the first video, if what happened last night with The Rock coming back, that was supposedly people on Twitter going, that was a Triple H booking.
Yeah.
We don't know. But if that's a sign of how creative is going under Endeavor and Vince McMahon's TKO group.
It was just powerful, right? And that's the thing is, like, Vince has always been about moments and memories, and that's his kind of deal, right? And something like The Rock returning. If you were there in Denver last night and that happened, you will never forget it. Like, when I was in Dallas and Rock came out, I'll never forget it. Like, it's just one of those things. And it's those big moments, right? You need to get it back to, and it feels like Triple H has been very good at this, is getting it back to that kind of anything can happen, right? It's live TV. Any number of things can kind of just pop up as surprises, and I think that this, if we're going to lean more into that side of it toward the future, then I'm all for it.
Well, you mentioned surprises and anything can happen, and I don't think anything can encapsulate that more that phrase more of anything can happen than a possible CM Punk return.
I mean, it's probably the biggest, juiciest carrot dangling right now.
Like, that's the biggest thing. Well, CM Punk appeared on last night's Cage Fighting Fury Championships 125.
Cage Fighting Fury.
Good voiceover, that one. It's like EA Sports. It's in the game. He appeared on the commentary booth, as he often does commentary for this company, alongside his co-commentator, John Morgan, who introduced him by saying, "Look who I ran into backstage. He is back. Might I add, with cause, CM Punk." You know, a little dig at his AEW firing. Later in the night, though, Punk made his first proper comment since being fired by AEW. John mentioned to him at one point, he was like, "Oh, we people don't want to hear you talk just now. We've got cage fighting to go to." And Punk was like, "Oh, what do you want to talk about?" What? And then he sort of made a little face. But then later in the night, Punk joked about needing a post-fight conference or a post-fight show to talk about everything that happened in Cage Fighting Fury Championships 125, which his co-host was like, "Oh, have you got time on your hands?" To which Punk replied, yeah, I got some time on my hands for the next 2 months.
Ooh.
So Sam, it's currently September.
Yep.
2 months' time is November.
It's got to be WrestleMania.
Now that's where the logic would dictate.
WrestleMania is always November.
Always November. 2 months' time, November 25th.
Survivor Series.
Chicago, Illinois. Survivor Series. It kind of writes itself. That is pure speculation. However, the fact that CM Punk has said, I've got time on my hands for 2 months, it makes you think maybe there is something there. He was backstage at WWE just months and months ago, back before his AEW return. After what bigger middle finger from both WWE and CM Punk to AEW than him showing up at the Allstate Arena
in one of AEW's home markets, right?
Right.
So it's kind of it's there, it's exciting, but I just don't want to get my hopes up, right? There's so much other stuff that goes into this situation as well. I know a lot of people, when I've spoken to people about it, they've kind of been like, no, like, just screw him in general, and like, I don't ever want to see him wrestle again, and why would they hire him, and it'll just be problematic. And it's like, in t-shirt sales alone for 3 months, that man is worth tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, it'd be a big acquisition.
It's a lot to go back through, though, because you got to remember, like, Punk nearly died, right? Like, 2014 was a very bad time for him, and his relationship with WWE was so strained that it was severed, and for the longest time we've all believed that it's irreparable.
Never gonna happen.
It's never going to happen. It's not going to be fixable. But they're just a perfect storm, isn't it?
Right, and even little things like Cage Fighting Fury Championship airing on UFC Fight Pass, and now it's the same company. We know he had a decent history.
He's making his return to UFC, everybody.
Oh, imagine that's what we want to be seeing. But yeah, so that's just to round out there. CM Punk, it's his first comments. Maybe we'll see him in WWE. Who knows? I want to see it. I'm also worried that things might not go as well as we hope because of how his AEW run went. However, the fan in me, I want to see it. But that is all we have for you just now. That's been a lot of wrestling news.
Yeah,
and I'm
double it.
It's oh my God, Sam, we're both a bit tired, and that was a lot of wrestling news. So make sure you check out the podcast that went on the channel last night. Make sure you check out all the content that goes out over the channel this weekend. We've got lots and lots of good stuff. Go and check out the vlog that went up last weekend. Really enjoyed watching the vlog. That was got Jack King, Jack the Jobber, and Jackie Orlando, Jack Atkins. So go and check that out. But in the meantime, have a nice weekend, and we will see you soon.
Bye.